You are listening to the Utah Jazz Beats with Sam and Peeps, the ultimate podcast for die-hard fans and passionate followers of the Utah Jazz. Here are your hosts, Sam and Peeps.
What's up, everyone? This is the Utah Jazz Beats with Sam and Peeps. It is Labor Day weekend. How's it going, Peeps?
Oh, it's going good. I just got back from camping. Went up past Park City. So, good Labor Day weekend for me. What about you?
It's good. It's September. We're finally getting to some real sports. No more of that baseball crap.
I sent Sam a text this week, and I was like, man, I'm so thankful that real sports are starting up because college football just started. And I said, we don't have to deal with that baseball or that dart throwing on ESPN anymore.
No more darts. No more darts for us. I've spent like the last 3 days just watching college football. Yeah, seriously, literally. And I looked today. We got 52 days until Jazz basketball.
Hey yo.
So and then 51.
Then real sports start.
But
just kidding.
Hey. Football's still good, but it's still NBA. Anyway, alrighty.
That's true.
So today, our first segment is the Jazz Jumpstart, and what Peeps and I want to talk about was 5 point guards that the Jazz could realistically target and maybe get in a trade. Last week, we kind of went over some internal options from the team, or I guess that was 2 weeks ago. And then on this episode, we just want to go external. For me, my main hope is still that Keontae George becomes that guy. And so some of these guys may be placeholders or maybe guys that could be good mentors. But yeah, I guess we'll just go with Justin's list and we'll see how many we overlap with. Who's the first guy on your list, Peeps?
Okay, so I took a little different of an approach to the point guard position because obviously our main goal is we want Keontae George to be the point guard, right? Yeah. And I was like, okay, so I kind of thought of 3 approaches to us filling the point guard position from a trade perspective, obviously. The first was we have a 1-year guy who is really just filling the spot till KG3 comes in. And in that situation, the kind of guy we want is someone who's a veteran, probably a mentor of some sort, mentoring KG3 to be a better point guard, someone who can get high assists, low turnovers. They don't really necessarily need to have a high shooting percentage or high volume, I'd say, but like a high percentage would be nice, and then high like free throw percentage. But yeah, not necessarily a shooter per se, but more of a mentor, high assist kind of guy, right?
Okay.
And then I also thought of long-term point guards. You could take that approach. Maybe that's because KG3 isn't in the picture or something else, right? But that would probably be like a younger guy who's about to enter their prime. Now that guy will have a higher shooting volume and is able to facilitate shots for themselves, but also facilitate shots for others. And then my last one, which is probably like my favorite of the 3, is a point guard who plays this year that we trade and get, but then transitions to a shooting guard role, probably taking over Jordan Clarkson's role, just because he's a little bit older. And so that would also be a younger guy who has good handles, who can be a facilitator, but is good off the ball. It's a big shooter, gets buckets. That's kind of my thoughts on that. But I'll give you my first guy. I'll kind of do the. I'll do my 1-year guys first. My guys who have a 1-year contract with us.
Okay, wait. Just give me your first, just the one player first.
Okay, so James Harden is the first guy.
Okay, he's not on my list.
And he's got a 1-year contract right now, $35 million. We can afford that this year. And obviously he'll probably go somewhere else afterwards anyways. So it's not like we're going to be keeping him forever. But 76ers don't really like him. He doesn't really like 76ers right now. So far, supposedly they're keeping him. But so it's like I feel like that is a trade possibility. And the reason being on his side is obviously he is really good at assists. Like I was saying, like we want someone who has high assists, who is a dedicated point guard. James Harden totally fills that role. But some of his downfalls, I would say, is his attitude, his locker room. I don't really know if I'd want that style on my team, right? Kind of keep the locker room healthy. So that's his downfalls, but the upsides would be, obviously his assists and his point guard status. Well, what's your thoughts on James? Why was he not on your on your list?
Well, so basically, the biggest reason he wasn't on the list is because I don't think it's that realistic. Um, I mean, we could afford him. Like the Jazz could pretty much afford anyone, but like I feel like there's no way he wants to be in Utah, right? Like I'm pretty sure everyone knows that there's no way
I
he
don't
would
think so
want to
either.
come to
Yeah.
Utah. And
No.
the way he is, if he doesn't want to be somewhere, then he doesn't play. So I feel like the Jazz would stay away from it. So that's the main reason that I didn't have him on my list. But with James Harden, like obviously the pros are like so good because he's a great playmaker, and that would be perfect with our front court. Like we really just need a playmaker that can get Lowry involved, Kessler involved, Collins involved. Because right now all of our guards are just not playmakers, and so that's the biggest thing we need is a playmaker. So he would be perfect. He would probably average like I wouldn't be surprised if he averaged over 10 assists on this team. Like I think that he could get so many assists, especially with Markkanen.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
so no, yeah, I think he would be awesome, but it's like what you said, just his freaking attitude sucks. And I mean, he's played with like so many winners and he just can't win. Like they all win without him, you know what I mean? And so I don't know. I just think he would be a cancer to the locker room. He'd probably teach guys on the team like bad habits. So anyway, I he's insane, but also I'm like, keep him away from our young guys and our culture.
Oh yeah. Here's. I mean, obviously, I'm not. I mean, it would be cool if he was on our team, but I'm not like, let's go get him kind of thing. But here's
Yeah.
another funny thought: is if you think about him, like me personally, right now, not as much. But when he was on the Rockets, I hated him as a Jazz fan. Right? Hated the
Yeah,
Rockets.
we all
Hated
did.
him. And it's like, yeah. And it's like, now it's like, he's on the 76ers, he's on the Nets before. It's like, I don't really care. So I wonder what that attitude would be like from that, the hatred from before from all the Jazz fans, and then bringing him on the team. I just wonder what the fan perspective would be of him.
Yeah, I mean, like most Jazz fans will just love anyone that puts on a Jazz uniform, but he could be the exception, honestly. Like we Utah fans hate him, so I don't know, honestly. Like they hate him,
Yeah.
but yeah. So I don't. It sounds like neither of us are really like, let's go get him, but it's mostly just like he's an option. So
Yeah. That's exactly.
is that what you're feeling? Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts
I
on
agree.
him, or do
Like
you want to?
it'd be hard not to mention him.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like
I would
if
say-
nothing else, he's at least an honorable mention, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
Who's your first guy?
all right, my first guy is Damian Lillard. I'm gonna go out on a limb and guess that you have him on your list, right?
I would have never put him on my list. No, I'm kidding. He's definitely on my list as a guy who who could be a good player or two.
Yeah, I mean we can't do this exercise without including Damian Lillard. So, we'll just go through his season last year. So I think it was just last year that he signed a 2-year, $121 million contract. Basically he's going or a contract extension, sorry. So he's going to make $63 million in the 2026-2027 year, and I believe he'll be 36 that year. Is that correct? He'll either be 36
He's
or 37.
33 now, so yeah.
Yeah. So 36, 37 around there. In his last season when he's making $63 million, which I don't know if a player has ever made that much in a season in NBA history before. There's a lot of big contracts signed, so he won't be the only one. But yeah. Anyway, so it's just think about it. That's the kind of the scary thing is it's a lot of money for a really old guy, and in NBA terms anyway. But he has been aging really well. Like last year, he averaged 32 points per game, 7 assists, almost 5 rebounds on 46% shooting. And so even with him like getting old and he's not supposed to be in his prime anymore, but he's still playing like it, like that's like MVP type numbers right there. And then obviously the way that I feel like he fits with our team is just like his experience, in kind of in a Mike Conley way. Like he's got so much experience where he could help these young guys. And then obviously he's one of the best shooters. He might be like, he's probably a top 10 shooter all time, maybe even top 5 you could argue for. He's super athletic. Obviously, that athleticism will kind of go away as time goes on. And then he's a great playmaker. And I would really love him to be here to help develop Keontae George. I think he could be like such a great mentor, teach him great habits, just kind of be a player coach specifically for Keontae. And he's a kind of guy that puts us from like, are we a playoff team to are we contenders? Like he could really put us in that next echelon in the West. And so there's a lot of things to like about him. And really the only thing I don't like is his age and contract. So what do you think?
No, I agree too. I mean, so my main concern on him is the age and contract. I mean, because he does have, like you're saying, so I mean, he's got this year 2 more years of guaranteed money, and then he has a player extension that's that $63 million, which he'd be silly not to take that, right? So pretty much a 4-year contract, and yeah, he's 37 by the end of that, so we don't even know what it would be, like how good he would be. But I would really like him as like that, the player coach mentor for Keontae George. So I'd love to have him in like one of my my 3 setups was the 1-year guy and then like the long-term point guard. But with his contract, I think it would just be really hard to have him as a 1-year guy. Like, if we're picking him up, we're picking him up for his whole contract. So he would have to probably be our dedicated point guard, and Keontae George would probably have to be a shooting guard or backup point guard or something else, which makes it tricky to really develop Keontae George in the way we're hoping. That's my thoughts on him.
And I wouldn't even, like, if we're getting Damian Lillard, I wouldn't want him for just 1 year, because he's so good.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, he'd be long-term. And Keontae George, I mean, he's played, in college, he played the 2 and the 3. So, like, he could play shooting guard and it could work. And then the other thing, I just thought of this, I didn't think about it earlier, was there's been all the reports that he only wants to play in Miami. And so, I don't know how serious that is. But what if we trade who knows what for him, and then he's just like, I don't want to play for you guys.
You might have a James Harden set up a game that they don't actually want to play.
Yeah. So we've gone through 2 players, and both of them were worried that they wouldn't want to play in Utah. But he does have Utah roots, and I don't think he would actually do that. I think he's just saying that right now so that he can go to Miami. But I bet if he got traded, he would be all in on whatever team he went to, especially Utah.
Yeah. Yeah, especially with his Utah roots. I feel like if he was traded here, maybe he's not happy at the start because he didn't go to Miami. But I bet you he could get with this all.
Yeah.
Here's one. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, you go. Sorry. No, you go.
I was just saying one random stat that I saw when I was looking him up. He has never came off the bench or anything. So he's played 769 games, and he started all 769. Really? Which I thought was just super, super interesting, actually. So,
yeah, I mean, it's just surprising. I mean, it makes sense, but it's surprising because most guys don't start from day one as rookies. So that's crazy. I lost my train of thought. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh well, yeah. If it comes back, I'll let you know.
All right, sounds good.
Do you have any other thoughts on him before we go to your second guy?
I think that kind of wraps up my thoughts on Lillard.
Okay. Oh yeah, and I don't know if we said this at the game. We both picked 5 guys that we feel like that we're targeting. So I don't remember.
We'll see if I can stick to 5. I kind of brought in a few, floater guys. So
okay. No worries. But, all right, who's your next guy?
Okay, my second guy is Dejounte Murray.
Oh, now, shoot.
Honestly, is he on your list?
No, he's not. I love him, but it didn't even cross my mind. So that's why I was like, oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah. Now, honestly, I don't know if we could get him. The thing is, he has a contract that is like super tradable. His contract is just insanely good. So like having the Hawks give him away for anything at the start would be crazy in the first place. Like they'd have to get quite a bit back, I think. But his stats, here's his contract. 4 years, $100 million, and then he has a 1-year player option after that. So it's a long contract, but it's pretty reasonably priced. I mean, this next year it's $18 million, which is the same as Colin Sexton, to put it in perspective.
Oh, really? Wow. I thought he was getting way more than that. That's awesome.
No, I was just like, wow, I was blown away, actually.
You look shook. But I mean,
his stats. Hey, out of all the options, this is the one I was like, oh, this is good. I want him. But
That's so funny.
his stat wise, I mean, last year he averaged 20 points a game. He only had like 2 turnovers a game. 1.5 fouls a game. He has a pretty good free throw percentage. His 3-point percentage is a little low for what I'd want for like what he is, which is like 34%. But he's shooting 46 altogether. But what's your thoughts on that so far?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't think of it myself. Yeah, I mean, I guess my main question is, first of all, is like, could the Jazz get him? Would the Hawks be willing to give him? They just gave, I think it was 2 first-round picks to the Spurs, but they might have even given 3. I don't remember. Do you know how many picks they gave to the Spurs for him?
Oh, I can look it up, but I don't have it right here.
You're frozen.
I don't have the stats.
Oh, no, it's fine. Anyway, so like obviously they just gave up a lot to get him, so it's like, how fast would they want to move on from him? But from just a player perspective, being on the team, man, he would fit great. I think he's like a tall point guard. I want to say he's like 6'4", at least 6'3" for sure, but I think he's 6'4" or taller.
He's 6'4". Yep.
He's 6'4". Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. So yeah, he's a 6'4" point guard. He's great at defense. Like, our defensive lineups would be insane with him, freaking Kessler, Markkanen. Like, that would be great defense. So he would be an awesome perimeter defender. So yeah, that would be great. And then he already has chemistry with John Collins. They just played a season together in Atlanta. Granted, it was Collins' worst year, but like, they already have experience, so that would be another great thing. But I just like his playmaking and his defense would be so awesome with this team. He could, yeah. Anyway, it'd be great. I think he would be awesome.
Oh, I think the only tricky thing is if they're even willing to give him up, and if they are willing to give him up, for how much. And my bet is he's probably worth 3 first-round picks. You got to give up a guard and maybe something else. I don't know. Like, yeah, that's. I mean, I feel like he has to take a little bit of a haul.
Yeah. So I guess it just depends on how much we think he's worth. But he was an all-star, not last year, but the year before. He was an all-star. Like, he is a good player. So anyway, that would be sweet. He's one of my favorite players, so that's dope.
There you go.
All right. Anything else on him, or should I give you my next one?
Let's do the next one.
All righty. So, kind of what you're saying about a guy that could play point guard and then move to the 2. I don't know if he would be our point guard, but with how the Jazz are, it's not like we really have any point guards anyway. Like, we're talking about Jordan Clarkson at point guard. So this is kind of a similar situation where I was thinking of Tyler Herro. Did you think about Tyler Herro at all?
I had a thought of him, and I was like, I just did not think we were going to be able to get him, so I didn't really put too much thought to him.
Honorable mention for
but
you.
I would love that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I was thinking Herro. I think that the most likely way that we get him is in a Damian Lillard trade to Miami, and then it's just like a 3-team deal. And I assume that we would be giving the Heat a draft pick or 2, and then a guy like, I would say probably Sexton or Clarkson. I assume one of those 2 guys. So anyway, that's kind of like what a little framework for it would look like. But Tyler Herro, he was 6th man of the year, not this past season, but the year before. And then he signed a 4-year, $120 million deal last summer. So that's not too crazy. He's making about $30 million a year through the end of 2026, 2027 season. Last season, he averaged 20 points a game, 4 assists, 5.5 rebounds, 44% shooting, and then 38% from 3. And so basically, the biggest downside I see with him is that he is a little bit redundant. If you do have Clarkson and Sexton on the team, they have very similar skill sets where, I mean, scoring first guards, not much of playmakers, but I think of the 3, he would instantly be the best of those 3 guys. I think he's like Clarkson and Sexton, but he's better. And so he would probably instantly become one of our best isolation scorers. He can hit the 3 mid-range and get to the rim. I think he's young enough where he fits our timeline. And so, yeah, the main reason I want him is just for scoring ability. he does turn it over a little bit too much. His defense isn't great, but he can score. He's been to the finals twice, so he has a lot of experience. He can obviously win. So I think there's a lot of reasons to like him. He's honestly not much of a point guard, but I mean, I think it would still be worth it. I think the more guys that can put the ball in the basket, the better. And so it would be worth it to have him on the team. But I don't know if the fit is perfect, just like a Clarkson fit isn't perfect either.
Mm-hmm. No, my initial thought of him is definitely not point guard. But,
yeah.
I mean, obviously, even you have like Danny H and them saying that like you can kind of go to a point guardless basketball. That's kind of how the league's going, right? So he could totally do it. And I think it would be a sweet on the team. The thing I would say is tricky again is kind of the same as the last guy. It's just hard to see if we could even get him in the first place. With I mean, obviously, I don't know what did you say his contract was? $30 million for the next 4 years. He has a 4-year contract.
So yeah, it's like $30 million per year. So it's $120 million total for 4 years.
Okay, so I'm just.
So I think we owe 90. I think we owe 90 million still. So.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
I bet you. Out of him, like, who do you think we would be able to get easier, Dejounte Murray or Tyler Herro?
Tyler Herro, I think. Dejounte Murray was
if he did
all-star.
the 3-team trade.
He was just there. Yeah, and I think it'll be easier because it'd be a 3-team trade, so we're not giving up like an insane amount. But I think it would be at least one draft pick. Well, I think at least one first, and then maybe some seconds, and then I think Clarkson or Sexton, and then whatever needs to happen to make the salaries work. But yeah.
Yeah, and I bet you Jordan Clarkson, if he's coming on the team, Jordan Clarkson would probably be leading the team. That's my own take on that.
I'm sure, yeah. So, you can't have 3 of those guys, so like with Sexton, the 2.
Yeah.
So
like super similar.
Yeah. And your thoughts on him, or should we go to your next one?
That's my thoughts on him. My next guy, same type of guy, so he's more of a shooting guard, and that's because he's kind of the guy who was doing the point guard role while Keontae George is developing, and it's Keldon Johnson. So Keldon Johnson, young guy, 23. This is he's been in the league 4 years, I want to say. He's got a pretty same contract as pretty reasonable contract, getting paid $20 million this year. Then he has 4 years altogether. Funny thing is his contract those last 2 years actually drops in price. So it's like $20 million this year, then it's like $18 million, and then $16 million, $16 million. So like literally gets easier to work with him through time. But this last year, he averaged 22 points a game. And he's got 5 rebounds. He only has like 3 assists, which I'm curious. I mean, obviously a point guard with only 3 is kind of an interesting take. His shooting's down a little as well. It's 32% on the 3, but 75% on the free throw line and 45 altogether.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you were thinking of him at like the 2?
I was thinking of him as pretty much probably like starting, probably up the point guard to start, right, this year, and then he'll drop to like a shooting guard with Keontae George next year.
Interesting, yeah, because he's only played forward, so it would be really interesting to see if he could do like that point forward or be a point guard on the team. But yeah, no, I think he's like a really good self-creator, which is I'm always all about anyone that can score. I just feel like the Jazz really lack guys that can go and score for themselves. And so anyone that can play isolation and get a basket down the stretch when we need it, I'm all about. So yeah, I think that's super interesting.
Yeah. That's my thoughts on him. He didn't have too crazy of a setup there.
No, that's good.
Who's your next guy?
Let's see here. Oh yeah, I was gonna go with Tyus Jones. Tyus Jones. He just barely got. Oh yeah, did you think about him at all?
No, not at all.
No, wow, I literally thought we were gonna go through like 7 guys, but we might just go through like 10 different guys. The only overlap we've had is Lillard, so that's awesome.
Yeah, seriously.
Cool. So yeah, Tyus Jones, he was on the Grizzlies, and he just got traded to the Wizards over the summer. So I'm not sure if the Wizards are like, we really want Tyus Jones, or like the Wizards just blew everything up, So it's unclear to me if they're like obsessed with having him as part of their future, or if he just so happened to be part of the blowing it up process, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, what kind of trade it actually was.
Yeah, for sure. So anyway, but in my opinion, he's been the best backup point guard in the NBA for the last 2 seasons at least. I'm trying to look at the record. Oh yeah, in 2021-2022 season, when Ja Morant was out, the Grizzlies went 20-5. I assume that Tyus Jones. I mean, I know that he started the majority of those games. I'm not sure if it was every single game, but anyway, so obviously, like, he can run the show. Last season, as a starter, he averaged 16 points and 8 assists. When he's been coming off the bench, he's been averaging 10 points and 5 assists with 2 rebounds. I also really like that he doesn't turn the ball over, which I feel like is something that's a problem with a lot of our guards right now, is there's lots of turnovers. He shot 43% from the field and 37% from 3. So he could improve as a shooter, but also, like, if he's open, he's going to knock it down. And so, yeah, my main thing is he's another, like, in a different way, he's like a Mike Conley type of guy where he's just like a table setter, a playmaker. He's going to get all of our guys involved. He doesn't have an ego. He's not going to get mad about his stats or anything. Like, he just seems like the perfect team guy, the classic, point guard. Like, I feel like there's not very many real point guards in the NBA anymore. A lot of them are like a Tyler Herro or like a Colin Sexton, who are all about like getting their own shots. But yeah, he's a real point guard who can pass the ball, makes good decisions, and I think he's for sure good enough to be a starter because in my opinion, he's been the best backup for like such a long time now.
I feel like, yeah, the facilitator, like the true point guard, is something that is desired, but it is very rare these days in the NBA. But yeah, you got Damian Lillard, you got like these other guys who do it, but there's like not a lot. And even like the list of people that we're talking about coming over to the Jazz, a lot of them are like these shooting guard, point guard type guys, not true point guards.
Yeah, I feel like this is the first one that I feel like Jones is like the only one that is like, when you think of a classic point guard, like if you think of John Stockton or you think of Mike Conley, like there's like no one like that. Like I feel like he's one of the only ones. So
yep. I would actually rather see a true point guard on the team, like a guy who's really super, selfless and is always looking for other people's shots, not really his own. That's
for sure. Thoughts. I mean, yeah, if you think about like the perfect fit, if we're really thinking about it, would be Mike Conley. Like, he would be the perfect fit. In my opinion.
Yeah, it's
like,
true.
Like everything that we need, Mike Conley can do, but he's not here. So
I'm scrolling past him on the trade, and I was like, dang
it. He's not coming back. But no, like that is what we need, is like Mike Conley, and Tyus Jones, in my opinion, is like the closest thing to Mike Conley in the league right now. So anyway, he'd be awesome. Did you have any other thoughts, or is that it?
No, that's it on that one.
All right.
And
who you got?
So here's my 5th guy. The thing is, so I put 7 down, I'll be honest. And this 5th one is tricky for me to say which one's actually the most reasonable. So I'm going to say the 3 guys, and I'm just going to talk about I'm going to talk about Austin Reeves, but the other honorable mentions was Desmond Bane from the Grizzlies, and then also Jrue Holiday. Jrue Holiday, reason he's got 1 year left on his contract. And Bucks, I mean, the only reason I put him on there is because Giannis made that comment that he might, leave the Bucks. So let's see if they do like a rebuild a little early. But super solid, point guard, shooting guard style player. Really, good veteran experience, but I don't think it's really plausible that he would ever be here. Like, I just don't.
Wait, sorry, you're talking about Jrue, so that's why right?
He's just an honorable mention. Say that again?
Wait, sorry, you're talking about Jrue Holiday? Okay, yeah. I was just making sure.
And then Desmond Bane. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say something interesting about Jrue Holiday, and I don't know if he still feels this way, but when he signed his last contract with the Bucks, he said that at the end of his current contract, he was gonna retire, and
Wow.
which obviously he's really good, so he's really good. He's good enough to keep playing. But I wonder, and he said that like a couple of years ago now, so I wonder if he's gonna stick with that. But he would be awesome. Like he's probably the best defensive guard in the NBA in my opinion. And so yeah, he's super awesome. I think he was an all-star this last season. But yeah,
Yep.
I'm curious to see if he will actually retire or not.
Yeah, and on our team, I would see him as a 1-year player, and then either he retires, goes somewhere else, something. But like, I don't see him on the team for a year, anyways. And then Desmond Bane, the other like honorable mention, he's got a really big contract. It looks like they're really wanting him, and they're putting a lot of assets into him. So I don't think there's any way he would come over. But I think he'd also be a really good fit on our team. You know, 0. I agree. I'd love to see it, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, but my boy can dream. We should have drafted him and
yeah, seriously.
in the Azubuike draft. But anyway, that's a whole other topic.
Okay, but now the real guy that I think could happen is Austin Reeves. It kind of feels like same type of thing with the Lakers. They could be kind of looking to move him as like one of their next star players. So it could be really hard to get to him. But I feel like his cap, his ceiling is super high compared to where he's at. And I bet you the Lakers see that as well. So that's why it'd probably be tricky to get him. So because he only averaged, 13 points last year, but his free throw was really good. He had 3-point percentage of 40%. He's shooting 53% altogether. Super reasonable contract so far. He just signed an extension with them for 2 years, so he has 3 years, including this one altogether. So, like I said, I don't think we could get him, but I would see his ceiling as being super high, and I could see him totally playing with Keontae George in a really good combination.
That would be such a good backcourt. Sorry, were you gonna say anything else, or should I go?
No, that's it.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say the stats do not tell the story on Austin Reeves. I didn't have him on my list mostly because I wasn't sure how attainable he is, but like you can throw pretty much all of his 13 points a game and all that out the window. Like he is so good. He has been balling out for Team USA. He has probably been like, besides Anthony Edwards, he may be the best player on that team so far this summer. Like I've been watching like all the games. They're in the middle of the night, so I just record them and then I watch them like in the evenings after work. And he has been so freaking good. So anyway, no, he's awesome. His biggest weakness, I would say, is probably his defense. But on offense, he can shoot the ball. He's a good ball handler. He's a good playmaker. He's super good. I remember one playoff game against the Grizzlies. You got him, you got LeBron, you got AD, and he just is waving off LeBron and AD for the final shot, and he's taking it and hit it. And I was like, "What the heck? Who is this guy?" So anyway, the point
is this guy?
Yeah, he came out of nowhere. He was a two-way guy, and now he is like the Lakers' future, basically. Like I think the Lakers are going to really try to build around him, like going out of the LeBron era. Like I think they're going to try to, like once LeBron retires, they'll try to build around AD and Austin Reeves, I think. But if the Jazz could get him, oh my gosh, what I would give. It's so funny too, because going into the summer, I had people asking me about him and like if I want him. I think I talked about it with you, and I was like, no. He's overrated. He's just on the Lakers. And so people think he's awesome. And I was so wrong because watching him on Team USA, he's so good. I would love him. He's like my dream. I think if there was one guard that I could say the Jazz get, it would probably be Austin Reeves. But I just don't know if it's possible.
The funny thing is that exact same commentary of what your thoughts were about him. You had that all through like last season as you started to like see him progress. And you're like, nah. Like it's like just not gonna happen. It's like Jordan Poole kind of style. Obviously, it's changed a little bit, but it's funny to see. Because one guy I would not want on my team is Jordan Poole right now. I'll be honest. But...
Definitely.
Yeah.
No, that's interesting.
Who's your last guy though?
So I think because you and I both had Lillard, I think I still have two more. on my list of 5.
Oh, you have 2 more. Oh,
yeah, because I've done Lillard, Herro, and Tyus Jones, so I got 2 more still. So my first one is Ben Simmons, which I know you're gonna hate that. No, but listen. Wait, let me preface it. I don't want him.
Hey, I think the podcast is over, bud. That's it.
No, just listen. This is not. I didn't list 5 guys that I want the Jazz to get. I'm just saying you got to think about it. It's a target. All right, just hear me out before you start freaking out. All right.
You mean a potential target for all the other shooters in the game, or what?
I've been waiting like all week just to say Ben Simmons and see what you do.
That's funny.
That's why I didn't tell you my list beforehand. I was just waiting. Anyway, all right.
All right, I'm going to hear you out.
All right, Ben Simmons. First of all, he signed a 5-year deal worth $177 million. A few years ago, he's got 2 years left. He still owed $70 million. Since signing that contract, he has been terrible. That's just the facts. Last year he only played. Yeah, last year he played only 42 games and he averaged 7 points, 6 assists, 6 rebounds. He can't shoot the 3 at all. He's scared to shoot it. He refuses to shoot it. But when he was at his peak in Philly, he was an all-star. I think he's been a 2-time all-star, maybe 3-time. I think 2. He's got lots of playoff experience. He's a great playmaker. That's one thing, is he can play make and he can defend. And those are 2 things the Jazz need. Going into the offseason, there was an interview with Danny Ainge, and they were like, what do you want to improve? And he said, the 2 things I really want to improve is defense and playmaking. And prime Ben Simmons, the best Ben Simmons we've seen, there is no one better. There's no one player that is as good at those 2 things. And so, anyway, he's a playmaker and he's a defender. He's a 6'10" point guard. So the Jazz have been valuing positional size, and he adds that. Now, with all that said, all that good, I think the Jazz should stay as far away as possible from him. If he was his attitude, I've always hated Ben Simmons, but his attitude always been terrible, super entitled, hates feedback, not taking any steps to improve, really. So, I mean, yeah, just from an attitude perspective, even if all of those skills came back, it would be questionable. And the main thing is, like, we don't know if he'll ever be that player again. Like, he was really good. He was second in Defense Player of the Year voting. Like, he was a really good player. But, I mean, it's been 2 years since he was that guy. I mean, he's still young. I think he's still, like, mid-20s. I think he's the same age as Donovan Mitchell, probably. So, obviously, he's still a young player, but he's just been so, like, he's been such a different player the last 2 years. I don't know if you could ever get back to that point, but you could take a flyer on him because, I mean, you're not going to have to pay much to get him with how terrible he's been, how many games he's played in. Like, it's not going to take much to trade for him. The biggest downside is just that you'd have to take that contract with him. So, anyway, those are my thoughts.
True. Okay. So, honestly, I didn't even give a thought to this
Definitely.
guy.
I knew you would
on our team. But the interesting thing, being 6'10", our lineup would be insanely big. It would be crazy, actually. Which actually would be pretty fun to watch. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Like, we would tower. But the one thing too is that, yeah, he is not a shooter. And it's like, obviously, I would be getting him in that case from the defense. Like, I think last year he shot like 40-something% for the free throw line. Like, super low. And then, like, I think he only averaged like 6 points per game. So, I mean, low stats, but it would be a funny thing to look at on the team.
I just realized something that I totally just lied about what Danny Ainge said in that interview. He said that he wants, this is funny, he said he wants shooting and defense, not playmaking and defense. And Ben Simmons is the worst shooter in the NBA. So never mind. Do not quote me on that. But no, I don't want, like, if you think about, like, prime Ben Simmons, it sounds like it could be really fun, especially with the defense. Like, our defense would be insane, but the reality is he's not that guy anymore. So it's kind of just a fun thing to think about, but not something I would ever actually want to do. Like, I'd be so mad if it ever actually happened.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So
All right, let's see what your recovery guy is.
Basically, this is kind of cheating. For my last guy, I was just thinking about the Magic roster in general. So, for those who don't know, the Magic just drafted Anthony Black in the top 10 of the draft. He is their point guard of the future, pretty much. And then, but on their roster is a bunch of really good young guards. So, they got Jalen Suggs, top 5 pick 2 years ago. Awesome guy at Gonzaga. They got Markelle Fultz. He was in the Jason Tatum draft. He was the number 1 pick in that draft. He was a bust in Philly, and last year he kind of had like a revival season where you could see that potential. He's obviously never going to live up to the expectations of a number 1 pick, but he is getting a lot better. He's not really a shooter, but he's really good at getting to the basket. He's a good ball handler. He's a good playmaker, and I think he's just like a solid point guard. He's super athletic. And then you've got Cole Anthony, which I'm not as serious about him. It was, but he's another young guard on the Magic. But I was mostly thinking of Suggs and Fultz. Suggs would be really good for defense. So those are 2 guys that I do not see as like the point guard of the future, but I could see them as like a placeholder
Fill in the void
for Keontae George. Yep. And then they're young enough where I could see them like just coming off the bench in the future. It's like not just off the team, but kind of just guys that we could bring in for a year that are decent, point guards.
Yeah, I mean the nice thing on like the Jalen Suggs is obviously he kind of sucks right now, so you could get him probably pretty cheap, and his next contract would be pretty cheap. So you could have him, fill the void now, and then have him as a deep bench type player, and he would not really take up a lot of salary.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, they're both former top 5 picks, so they obviously were picked that high for a reason, and they may just, like Suggs specifically, may just need to get in a different situation, new coach, and see what happens. But Fultz, he probably doesn't even want to leave because he finally had his first good season since he's been in the NBA last year. But yeah, they're worth like thinking about, worth taking flyers on, but obviously not the top of either of our lists.
Yeah, true. So out of all your guys, who would you want then?
So, well, out of all the guys that have been mentioned, I would want Austin Reeves, but okay. For me, the most realistic option that I think we could actually get, I mean, I'm trying to just think because like the pluses and the pros and cons with Damian Lillard, it's just there's too many cons with that contract. Like I feel like that puts us in win now mode, so I probably wouldn't go him. Herro, I really love, but he's not a real point guard. So maybe not him. Honestly, who I would want just to like be on the team and for this season and to maybe back up in the future is Tyus Jones. He was probably the least flashy name that I said that whole time, but I think that he is the perfect fit, the guy that's going to get marking the most shots, who's going to be great pick and roll with Kessler. He's going to hit open shots. I think overall, Tyus Jones is just a solid point guard that could really help this team.
I think Tyus Jones is a good pick. Obviously, my favorite pick would be Dejounte Murray. Then probably closely behind is Austin Reeves. But plausibility of those happening, quite low, right?
But, yeah, that's what's hard.
I feel like the more I was looking into it, I'm like, I bet you we'll just stick with the guys we have. I bet you we won't see a trade at the guard position. That's really my main take.
I think that we will see a trade before the deadline with one of our guards. I don't know if we're going to bring another guard back, but I do think we'll have a trade where we will either get some picks or, a different position. I assume that we're going to trade either Clarkson, Sexton, Dunn, THT. I assume one of those 4 guys is going to be gone, but I would be kind of surprised if we did get a guard that came back.
Yeah, trade deadline wise, I think we could easily see like 1 or 2 guards leaving, but before trade deadline, like start of the season, really, I bet you we're starting with the guys we have.
Oh yeah. No, I 100% agree with that.
So
yeah. All right. Were those your final thoughts on the guard before we move on?
That's my thoughts.
Okay. Awesome. So we are going to move on to our last segment, which is the league rundown. And we were just going to talk about the midseason tourney. So I'm going to do my best to explain this in the most simple way possible. But for those who don't know about the midseason tournament, it's a tournament that's happening in November and December. And it's with all 30 teams. Each team, kind of like World Cup style, will be placed in groups. And so there's 6 groups, 5 teams in each group. Group play will be held on every Tuesday and Friday during the month of November. So if you're watching basketball on a Tuesday or a Friday in November, you know that it's group play. Basically, like, for example, the Jazz are going to play 2 home games, 2 away games, and then whoever at the end of November, whoever has the best record in group play will go on to the knockout rounds. Something else to note is that each of these games counts towards the regular season as well. So it's not taken away from the regular season. That's the record is still there, but it's also goes towards the midseason tournament. So then after group play, basically the top of each group will move forward, and then one team from each conference that has the next best record but didn't win their group. And then there's lots of tiebreakers that I'm not going to go into, but there's lots of tiebreakers that will decide who moves on. And then, yeah, from the knockout stage, it's really simple. It's just there's 8 teams, I believe, and then you match up, winner go home, single elimination. The last 2 games are played in Vegas for the semis and the championship. And then whoever wins, the winning team gets $500,000 for each player. So, there's a lot of guys where that's not going to matter. But like if you think about the Celtics, guys like Jason Tatum, Jalen Brown, 500,000, that's not going to be that life changing. But for a lot of guys, it really is like a lot of money for like someone like Sam Hauser. That's like double his contract basically. Like that's a whole other contract. So anyway, for some guys, they'll probably be really motivated by that $500,000, and other guys will not. But yeah, do you like the midseason tournament, Peeps? Are you not about it? What do you think?
My initial thoughts on it was, I think if it can take off and it can have as much hype as like a tournament, like in soccer, they have like those in like mid-season tournaments. They have all those the cups that they play and everything. If you can get to that style, I think it's really cool. But I feel like at the very start, players probably won't be as bought in as we would like them to be. And then, like, kind of like you were saying, like the 500,000 per player, like, is it enough? Like, is that enough for it to look different than just a regular season game? Like, are they going to put more effort into it? And then here's my other thought too: is say you take the semifinals and the finals, how different will those 4 teams be than the 4 teams at the end of the year during the actual playoffs? I'm just curious of, will it be the same teams? Will it be some, younger teams? Like what will those finals players be, final teams?
Interesting. Yeah, I know that's a good question because like last year, I want to say like in December, the Pelicans were the number 1 team in the West, and then they didn't make the playoffs. But that's a team who probably could have done really well in that type of tournament because they were such a good regular season team for a while. And like that number 1 seed Jazz, I'm sure they probably would have won a tournament like this. And the Celtics would probably win a lot of tournaments like this because just like all these regular season teams that kind of struggled more in the playoffs. So that's interesting. Are you, what was I going to say? Oh yeah. Are you happy that they're doing the tournament overall, or do you kind of wish that it wasn't a thing?
Oh, I think it'll be fun. I'm excited to see it. At least I'm hoping it's as good as my expectations are of it. I mean, it really just depends on how the players, how bought in they are. But I think it'd be fun to watch, especially you watching a game that means a little bit more, and then those final games like the knockout round. That's what I'm really excited for. I would say.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, the regular season just feels so long, so the point where I feel like it can't hurt to at least try to make things more competitive.
Switch it up a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
they're switching up the All-Star
hurt.
game and the all those games all the time, so it's like, why not try something else to make this a little bit, the regular season a little bit different? So
yeah, so I'm excited. I hope the Jazz. It'd be sweet if they could get out of the knockout round. It'll be tough, but if they could, I mean, not the knockout round, if they could get to the knockout rounds, that'd be cool. But I'm excited just to see how it goes and switch it up a little bit.
Yeah, we got a tough group, so we'll see.
Oh yeah, do you want to list off? Do you have it open? Who's in our group? I don't have it on me.
Yeah, so we got Grizzlies, Suns, Lakers, and Blazers. So out of those, obviously, Suns will probably be the hardest, then Lakers, maybe Grizzlies, then Blazers, is what my thoughts are.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. The Blazers, at least we won't be the worst team. That's all I got to say.
True. I can see us getting third, but moving to that second, I think that would be, I guess we'd have to be first in the group, so yeah, it would be tricky.
Your break. I can't hear you or see you at all.
Oh, you cut out. What you said?
Oh, sorry. I didn't hear the last thing you said. We both kind of cut out, I think.
Oh. So I was just saying that the getting first would be tricky. I guess you could technically be a wild card at second, but I just feel like it would be really hard for us to make that knockout round.
I think to get into the knockouts, basically, like we would have to go 3-1, and then the team that gets in would probably go. Yeah, we'd probably have to be 3-1, and then win all sorts of tiebreakers for against the other groups. So I don't know. I'd be pretty surprised, but I think it'll be fun just for some competitiveness. Alrighty. Well, that's everything we have, I think. Is there any other topics you want to hit on before we end?
No. I'm just excited for the season. We got a few more weeks till training camp starts, so
yeah, we're getting there. We're pretty close to training camp, honestly.
Yeah, like what, 2 weeks? Yeah, well, I guess almost a month now.
Yeah,
a little under.
Nice. Alrighty. Well, signing out. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Give us your thoughts on who you think the Jazz should target. And we will see you next time.
See y'all.
Thanks for listening to the Utah Jazz Beats with Sam and Peeps. If you're as passionate about the Jazz as we are, remember to hit that subscribe button or follow the podcast so you never miss a beat. Stay tuned for more insights that will keep your Jazz spirit alive all year round.